Hi boys and girls, today is Friday, May 29th, 2020. We are in our new packet. Yesterday I started 12.2. I'm still doing 12.2. I am on page 706 of your new packet. Remember, yesterday's learning target was that you can identify angles using plane shapes. I can identify or describe angles using plane shapes. So what are angles again? Angles are three different types that we talked about yesterday. An acute angle, which is a small angle, which is smaller than a right angle. An obtuse angle, an angle that's larger than a right angle. And then of course a right angle, where you can put a perfect square in the corner. So we're using angles in plane shapes, and we're describing what angles are there. Let's look at number 15. It says, unlock the problem. Holly drew the four shapes below. Which shape does not have a right angle? So here are the four shapes. Q, shape R, shape S, and shape T. So what they're asking is, which one of those shapes can you not put a perfect square in the corner? Well, if I look at letter Q, I can definitely put a perfect square here and here, so it's not Q. This is a rectangle. I can definitely put four squares in each corner. Boys and girls, this is basically a square also. It's just turned. So if you're looking at it as a diamond, it's really not a diamond, it's a square. I can put four corners of squares in each of those corners. So the only one that does not make a right angle is letter T. Now, they want us to go through it step by step, so we will. It says, what do you need to know? Well, the question was, which shape does not have, and what doesn't the shape have? A right angle. Okay, so please write. Our question of what we need to find, what we need to know, is which shape does not have a right angle. Then it goes on to letter B, and I'll leave that there so you guys can copy it, but letter B is asking, tell how you might use a sheet of paper to solve the problem. Well, we practiced a little bit with that yesterday with a sticky note. If you look at the corner of a sheet of paper, and I'm just going to show you real quick. Here is a small sheet of paper. If I look in the corners, they all make right angles. So this is basically a rectangle, and in each corner I can make a right angle. So I could take the edge of a sheet of paper, and if it doesn't fit exactly into the shape with a straight vertical line and a straight horizontal line, you know that there's no right angle. So let's see, how can we write that? We're gonna say, tell how you might use a sheet of paper to solve the problem. I can use the corner of a sheet of paper and compare it to all the angles in each shape. So I could have taken that little piece of paper I just showed you, and I could have put it in the corner of each of these shapes to see if one of them didn't make a right angle. So I'll just hold it here. Please copy. I can use the corner of a sheet of paper and compare it to all the angles in each shape. All right, now I'm going to move on in a few seconds. Again, pause the video if you need to. I can use the corner of a sheet of paper and compare it to all the angles in each shape. All right, now I'm going to go down to letter C, and they're still talking about the 4 shapes, boys and girls, at the top of the page. So they're asking us first about shape Q. It says shape Q has, they want to know how many right angles. Well, I told you, there's 2. So please write 2 in that first blank. Then it says how many angles are greater than a right, which means obtuse. This means obtuse, so larger. Well, let's see. If I make an angle here, that's not obtuse. If I make an angle here, is that obtuse? Oh, yes. So there's 1 that's greater than a right angle, and there's 1 that is less than a right angle. So those are the numbers you should put in for letter Q. Now, they're moving on to shape R. So they did shape Q, now we're doing shape R. That's this one. It says how many right angles. Well, we know there's 1 here, 2, 3, 4. So please write 4 in the first blank, which means there's none that are greater than a right angle, and there are none that are less. So there's no obtuse and there's no acute. That's shape R. Now go to shape S, which is this one, which I told you is basically a square. So shape S says how many right angles. Again, there's 4. I can put a perfect square in each of the corners. And this one doesn't look so good. Ooh, I'm mad I used that pencil. Oh well. All right, so there's 4 corners. So there's 4 right angles. No angles greater, no angles less. So there's no obtuse and there's no acute. That's shape S. Last one, shape T. And I'll move it over here a little bit because we got to fill in shape T now. So shape T, it says, has how many right angles? There are none. Remember, T was our answer. You can't make a right angle in any of those. So your answer is 0. Now, can we find any that are less than a right angle, which means acute? If I put an angle, if I put an angle here, that's acute. If I put an angle here, that's acute. So how many are there? 2. Now, if I do these and this one, they're more open. So those are obtuse, which means, let's see, it says, I put this in the wrong place, guys. Or no, I didn't. There are no right angles. I forgot to put the 0 there. There are 2 greater than, and then there's 2 that are less than. So shape T has 0 right angles, 2 greater than, and this should be a 2 also, sorry. I don't want to erase because it makes that red mark. And there's 2 less than. So shape T does not have a right angle. All right, so that's our answer, and that's how we found it. But I found it right away when I looked at it, but we do go through it step by step so you can prove which one does not. Because again, letter Q does have some right angles in it. Make sense? Okay, because we've been talking about acute, obtuse, and right angles. Now, let's go down to number 16. Pause the video if you need to, if you're still working at the top here. Think smarter. It says, circle a number or word from each box to complete the sentence to describe all of the angles in this shape. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 6 sides. It's a hexagon. And we will, like I said to you before, we will talk about names of shapes when we get there. But this is a hexagon. So now let's answer these questions. There are how many right angles? 2. Circle. And blank angles less than or greater than a right. So they're asking how many are less than and greater than a right. Well, let's do it before we even circle anything. Right here, that's obtuse. That's obtuse. That's obtuse. That's obtuse. That's all the angles. So we have 2 that are right, but the rest of them are wide open. They are obtuse. How many are wide open that are obtuse? 4. And if we have 4 angles, did we call them less than a right angle or greater? Those are greater. Do you see how I did that? Take a look. So we have 2 right angles in that hexagon. The rest of the angles are obtuse or greater. Okay, now lesson 12.2 is done except for the homework, which I would like you to do on your own, but of course I will start it with you. So if you go to page 707 with chapter 12, at the top it says practice and homework 12.2. It's the next page. At the top, describing angles in plane shapes. That was our learning target, to describe angles in plane shapes. So I'm not going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Let's do 7. It says, Jeff has a square piece of art paper. He cuts across it from one corner to the opposite corner to make 2 pieces. What is the total number of sides and angles in both of the new shapes? So it's kind of hard to imagine that without drawing a picture. So it's a square piece. So that kind of gives it away, right? Here's a square piece of paper. It says that he cuts across from it. So let's just say he did that. Okay. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oops. He did from one corner to the next. So just ignore that. Whoopsie. Let's say he went diagonal like that. All right. It says, what is the total number of sides and angles in both of the new shapes? Your answer should be 6 because now you have 2 triangles. This is a triangle on this side. And this is a triangle on that side. So you have 1, 2, 3, and you have it again. 1, 2, 3. So you have 6 angles. Everybody see that? Let me zoom in if you can't, just to make sure you can see that. All right, there's 6 angles. I counted here when I divided this in half diagonally. 1, 2, 3 corners. Over here, 1, 2, 3 corners. Okay. Let's do number 8, sorry. It says, draw an example of a shape that has at least 1 right angle, 1 angle that's less than a right angle, and 1 angle that is greater than a right angle. So they want us to draw something where we have a right angle, an obtuse angle, and an acute angle in the shape. I'm going to draw the one that is at the top. Oops, it's not that great, but you do the best you can, right? So it says, draw an example of a shape that has 1 right angle. Well, this one has 2. It said at least 1, so I made it with 2. Then it says 1 angle that is less. That means acute. This one over here is acute. Whoopsie. Let me zoom out. So I have 2 right angles. This one's acute. This one over here is obtuse. So I'm done. I was able to do one part of the shape that has at least one right angle, one part of the shape that has one angle less than a right angle, that's acute, and one angle that's greater than a right angle, that's obtuse. That's done. Okay, and let's see, on the back, I believe a little bit of it is review. Let's see, I'm not going to do 1, I'm not going to do 2. Now, number 3, that's a review. It says write the fraction, okay. Number 4 is a review of fractions. Number 5, ooh, look at number 5. What is straight, boys and girls, and continues in both directions and does not end? Does not end, and it's straight. That's a line, right? Didn't we just talk about that in lesson 12.1? Yep. And then number 6, it says how many line segments does this shape have? So you have to count the line segments. I'm not going to do that one either. Okay, so tonight, or excuse me, this afternoon, whenever you have the time, you are to do lesson 12.2's homework. And I will go over it on Monday. Okay, I hope you have a nice weekend. I may put up another video, maybe something for you to watch, or maybe something that I will read, but I'd like you to do the homework. I did some of it with you, so you have to do the rest. Have a good day. Bye.